In this video, we're going to look at the edge-to-edge feature using Place 2 pins. Now, it is important to note when doing edge-to-edge, make sure you accurately measure the length of your quilt before you load it onto the machine. We're going to select a pattern in our pattern manager that we want to use for our edge-to-edge. Once we have our pattern selected, we will come up to the edge-to-edge icon. Creative Studio will begin to prompt us. Make sure that you follow the directional drawing on the right-hand side of the screen. So it's telling us to click the upper left-hand corner of our edge-to-edge. So I'm going to take my machine head and I'm going to move it to the upper left-hand corner of the quilt, and I'm going to click OK on my keypad. Then it's going to tell me to click the upper right-hand corner of my edge-to-edge. So I will take my machine head and come to the upper right-hand corner and click OK. It's going to then tell me to click the lower right-hand corner, so I'll take my machine head down to the lower right-hand corner of the quiltable space and click OK. And then I'm going to come to the lower left-hand corner of my edge-to-edge and click OK. Once I've done that, you will notice that Creative Studio is going to ask me to enter in the quilt length in the Setup tab. So I'm going to enter in the length of the quilt right here and click Enter on the keyboard. As you can see, Creative Studio will place in the pattern for my edge-to-edge automatically. Now we are using the Use Start and End method, as you can see right here in the registration section. Before we can start quilting, we can come over here on our right-hand side of our Setup tab and look at the repeats and rows, and we can adjust those if needed. So if we want to make the quilting a little bit more dense, we can left-click on the plus sign on our repeat section, and you can see that Creative Studio is going to automatically go in and shift up those repeats to make them more dense as I've requested. Now, as you can see, the rows will take care of themselves, so normally you just have to play with the repeats and figure out what density that you would like them to be at. Also, if you have any spacing issues in your rows that you want them a little bit closer together, you would come in and do a negative vertical spacing to bring them closer together. Whenever you've changed all the settings that you would like, you'll come down here and left click on OK, and you'll notice that the setup section disappears. Whenever you're ready to start quilting, just left click on Start Quilting and the machine head will move to its desired location. You will pull up your bobbin thread and then click OK, and the machine will start stitching out the first row. Once the available rows have been quilted, Creative Studio will ask you to pull up the bobbin thread, cut it, and click Continue. So I've cut my bobbin thread and I'm going to click Continue on the keypad. And after you click Continue, as you can see, all the prompts have disappeared, and this is normal when we're using the Use Start and End feature for registration. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and roll up the quilt on my machine frame. And once that is done, I'm going to come over to my computer and I'm going to click Roll Quilt. So I'm going to left click on Roll Quilt. And as you can see on the bottom left-hand side of my screen, the prompts are telling me to click the left registration mark. So the left registration mark is the start point of the last row that we quilted. So I'm going to come to the start point of the last row that we quilted. And I'm going to click OK. And it's going to tell me to click the right registration mark, and that is the end point of the last row that we quilted. Because remember, we're using the Use Start and End registration feature. Once I'm there, I'm going to click OK on the keypad. And as you can see, the patterns have shifted up on the screen and is ready for me to start quilting the next row.